Hi, hello, welcome back to Bioenergetics. My name is Devraj. Today I wanted to talk about sex. If there's one thing that's a recurrent topic on my channel in people's questions, it's around sex and sexual dysfunction and what can be done from body-based therapy, from bioenergetics, to help people who are suffering some form of sexual dysfunction. Because, as I see as a guy, it's like, these days, sex is not the be-all and end-all of everything for me. For a long time it probably was, basically. And if I felt good sexually, like I could have good sex, meet women and have sex, then basically it seemed like my life was good. And it was very debilitating at times when things weren't working, either with meeting women or with being sexually functional. So I wanted to make a video and just start to look a bit at sexual dysfunction, because I know a lot of people out there are interested in this topic, and just share a bit what I've learned, 10 years working with clients and running workshops and that kind of thing, and also being quite a lot in the Tantra scene, the Osho scene and all of that. I will stick to keeping it to body-based therapy. Basically, just to start with, let's just look a little bit what I mean when I say sexual dysfunction. What I mean is, for men, like inability to get an erection, a hard-on, or inability to keep, maintain an erection, a hard-on. Also, ejaculating too quickly, coming too quickly. These are main forms of sexual dysfunction that I hear about from guys. And from women, not really enjoying sex, or not being able to have like a proper vaginal, or what's sometimes called cervical orgasm. Not really feeling like they can, they really get the full pleasure out of sex. And let's just have a look really from body-based therapy. There's one kind of, because in a lot of what we learn about treating disorders or treating things that we don't like, that aren't working the way we want, is often to really be quite specific and localized to an area of the psyche or an area of the body. But, something when you look at sexual dysfunction, really what it is, in pretty much every case I've ever, worked with or looked at within my own being, is essentially, it's a gap or a disconnect between the mind and the body. The mind and the body. Nowhere is this more apparent than for men who ejaculate too quickly. Usually they've got too much awareness during sex in their head, and essentially they might be even in a kind of a fantasy world. They're with a partner having sex or getting sexual, but actually all or part of them is engaged with more of a fantasy in their mind, and out there in the world, we can blame pornography and we can blame stuff like that, but finally, you have to, when you're coming into sex, if you suffer from premature ejaculation, basically you have to get more awareness in your body. This is the bottom line. With people who come too quickly, with men who ejaculate too quickly, this is the primary cause. Simple as that. You've got to get more awareness in your body. And this applies also to other forms of sexual dysfunction, but it's particularly obvious with premature ejaculation, because when you start to think about sex and you go into a kind of fantasy world, it's like it ramps up the energy in a kind of unhelpful way, and you find before you know what's happening, you've ejaculated. Basically, you've spent your load, and then you're upset that your partner may not be getting much out of it. You feel maybe inferior, not good enough, whatever, and it really preys on your mind. So if you're in this category at the moment, you have to invest some time when you're getting close to sex to really getting in your body and feeling. Get in your body and feel. Feel your body as much as you can. And if you're going into like a fantasy world somewhere where you're imagining your partner is someone off TV or model or whatever, movie star, pop star, come back. Consciously come back and inhabit your own body. This is the primary thing you need to do, and this will start to help. And if we look generally at sexual dysfunction, like I say, then you will see it's a manifestation of the mind and body being too separate. Because if your awareness is really in your body, if you get turned on, if your mind gets turned on by something, then your body will just follow. It'll just fucking follow. You know, we don't come from computers. You know, we come from primates. We come from animals. We come from, you know, evolution, which has been going on for like a billion years. Billion years. So it's like, you know, the dysfunctions that we experience are particular really in many ways just to being human, to having the capacity to think and think and think about stuff a lot. Sometimes it serves us, sometimes it really doesn't serve us to think so much. And we actually have to come back into the body and really feel. And when you do that, then acts like sex become much more relaxed and easy. Because of course, if you've already got some fears about dysfunction, about coming too quickly, not being able to get erection, not being able to maintain erection, that you're not going to orgasm, whatever, then that fear, you know, if you go into that, that just makes it even worse, or it can make it even worse. It's ramping up the anxiety in your mind. Again, if you catch that happening when you get into sexual situations, breathe and feel your body more. Okay, so having, you know, I'm just speaking a little bit generally here. I haven't prepared a long speech. I just wanted to really create something about sex and sexual dysfunction. In a minute, we'll look at some exercises and parts of the body which are really important to get to. But it's important to grasp the central point from body-based therapy, which is sexual dysfunction occurs because there's too much split between the mind and the body. And what you need to do one way or the other is get more awareness in your body. And the more you got it in your body, the more natural sex will become. It will just become a natural thing, a natural feeling, and everything will flow. Sex is one of those areas where you really can't do so much just by thinking and thinking even more about it, and by, you know, reading and reading more about it, whatever. You actually have to just feel your body more, and you will return to a natural state in sex. And anyone, in my opinion, can do that. You know, it doesn't matter how fucked up you think you are sexually. If you keep trying and practicing bit by bit, the awareness will come back in, and your sex life will get better. Your sex life will get better. Okay, now let's look at some specific kind of exercises and areas of the body where we might want to work generally with bioenergetics or some emotional expression to try and bring awareness more in the body so that we can have a better sex life or overcome some level of sexual dysfunction. The primary area actually to look will be the throat, because in any kind of area where we've become too much in our head, you know, it's like we've dissociated from the body. Maybe there's a lot of trauma or excessive feeling in the body, and it feels scary and uncomfortable. We're worried about, you know, showing or feeling this stuff. Then the throat is the area, the throat and the neck are the areas that get tense and locked. They get tense and locked. So anything that you can regularly do to unblock your throat is going to help you. If you suffer premature ejaculation and you know you're going to have a sexual experience soon, you're getting together with your partner or whoever, you know, look at anything you can do to unblock your throat. Maybe go to the bathroom, do 6 gag reflexes in a row. And that means putting usually your forefinger and the next finger, middle finger, down, tickling this part of your throat from the inside, tickling this part of your throat from the inside, until your body kind of just goes into a gag reflex, basically. You don't need to vomit and stuff like that, you know, for sure. It's not really gonna, it's probably wouldn't, you don't want to have a lot of vomit all over you. Sorry. But, you know, basically the gag reflex is the most powerful and direct way to open the throat. And as you open the throat, awareness can flood back into the body. It's a great remedy for anxiety in the short term and, you know, getting overly fearful about stuff. So remember that. Generally, when I use a gag reflex, it's also good for insomnia, you know, waking up in the night sometimes. You know, 6 times in a row, 6 gags is good. It will bring some stuff back. It's a good kind of baseline level. Other things you can do with the throat if you've got time, you know, if you just generally want to work on this, is just practice making natural sound. Find a space, get into an environment where you can make sound without, you know, disturbing the neighbors or whatever, and just make some fucking sound. Just kind of practice letting stuff out, you know, this kind of feeling, I'm just going to be who I am. Because this is the underlying tension that exists for most people on a psychological level in the throat. is the fear that you're not okay as you are, and you need to really control your behavior a lot from here. So regularly find a space where for 5 minutes you can just make sound, you can swear, scream, shout, do whatever you want without disturbing anybody, and just put it out. It doesn't have to be a long kind of cathartic, yeah, fuck you kind of thing. Sometimes that can contract your throat even more if you're not doing it in the right circumstances. More like a natural feeling into your throat and seeing the kind of sound it just wants to make. It's another great way of unblocking the throat. Unblocking the throat. Another exercise you can do is called the dragon's breath to start to unblock the throat, or one sometimes called the lion, or I call it the hissing cobra. Let's just quickly look through those exercises. The dragon's breath is an old exercise from bioenergetics. Let me just move my webcam a little bit. And in this exercise, you stand with your feet wide apart and the outsides of your feet roughly parallel. You stretch your arms forward, imagining you're like a dragon, and then what you're going to do is pull your arms back, stretch your neck and your head forward, stick your tongue out, let your eyes make like you're really pissed off, like you could kill something. Stick your tongue out and like, ah. So it goes a bit like, ah, ah. Let's just see it from the side. When you do it, focus on something in front of you and really look with anger. You know, it starts to open up the throat. That's a great exercise. You normally do that for 1 or 2 minutes, you know, not really longer. And let's look at a different version of it, which comes from the cat-cow in yoga. But essentially what you do, I'll do this side on, it's a bit easier to see. But you come down into this kind of tabletop position. And then the compression phase is you bring your back up and your head towards your crotch and you squeeze. You squeeze and squeeze, and then you come out. I'll do it slowly at first. You bring your head up, you back down, you lean forwards on your hands, and once again you stick your tongue out and you show fire. Ha! Ha! So we're going to do it at normal speed. Compressing and compressing, back up, squeeze. Ha! Ha! Feels good. Those are some great exercises you can do to help to open up your throat. Open up your throat. Now let's look what else we can do, because quite apart from the throat, another basic issue that you'll find in sexual dysfunction essentially is too much anxiety in the body. Too much anxiety in the body. And for this we can look at a couple of different approaches. The main approach with anxiety that I generally use is called the bow and the arch. It's kind of the most basic exercise, most classic exercise of bioenergetics. And what it does in particular is open up this area of the body, the lower back and the backs of the legs. And these are areas of the body where pretty much everyone is holding a lot of old emotions from the past. And that holding in the muscular system operates like a charge, kind of like an electrical charge in your body, and it generates essentially a feeling of not being okay, especially when triggered by something from the outside. It generates a feeling of not being okay. And in your mind you get anxiety and you feel, I'm not okay, I need to do something to change my state. And what you can do with anxiety, essentially, what the bow and arch is going to do is slowly over time open up these areas. Open up these areas. And as that charge starts to dissipate, slowly you start to feel, hey, I'm fucking okay as I am. We live in a world where there's a lot of cultural impressions coming out to us from the internet and everything. And the bottom line is you've got to do this and you've got to do that to be okay. And it's all right in a way, it's all right. But you also need to develop the part of you that is also okay as you are. Also okay as you are. So when you need to be just okay as you are, you can be okay as you are. And you can also go out into the world and challenge yourself, but you also got to develop this part of yourself that just feels okay as I am. And so the bow and the arch is a way to take some of the charge out of these muscles here. So let's just have a quick look how that goes. Best thing is really that you look back on my channel, I've got some introductory exercises. I think getting started with the bow and arch is the title of one, and you can use that to get into the bow and arch. But essentially, you put your feet about 30 centimeters a foot apart, if you're still on the imperial system, and you slowly let your chin drop to your chest, you hang forwards, and this is the arch position. Your eyes are open, your neck and shoulders are loose, your tailbone is pulling up, and your weight is a little bit forwards. And in this position, you breathe and you feel the body. And then at a certain point, you're going to come up into the counter stretch, which is known as the bow position. And that is pelvis forwards, chest out, arms up and arms back. And again, eyes open, you have your head looking straight ahead. So that's for bow and the arch, and usually you'd go round like about 3 times basically. Work out a good length of time for you. Everybody is different. You know, maybe 20 seconds is long enough for you. Maybe 3 minutes is where you can start at. Don't judge yourself, just get into it. You know, and that's another important point with coming back to the body. You need to learn to not get too caught up in all the judgments and competition. Those you know, you can't get rid of those programs running in your brain. You know, they won't just go. You know, you can try and drug them out or whatever, or push them away, but they'll just come back. You have to allow them, but not get too engaged with them. Yes, you can self-judge and compare, but also you have to be able to breathe and feel your body and give as much attention to that. Okay, so that's for bow and the arch. And of course, the other area we can look at if we're looking at sexuality is around the pelvis, you know, where the genitals actually are. It's quite common for men and women to hold a lot of tension around these areas. If you've had any childhood experience of sexual invasion in some way or the other, you know, even if it's like not as extreme as, say, sexual abuse, when you've actually been sexually abused as a child, which is, in my experience, a lot more common in our culture than, you know, than is easily recognized, partly because we tend to go into such denial around sexual abuse, you know, because we don't want to think that we've been an abused person in our mind. You know, it's seen as such a negative that we can't even talk about it or bear to think about it. You know, that's where our culture's at right now. But there's a lot of sexual abuse around, and if you think you might have been sexually abused, you know, then it's good to investigate that area and start to desensitize a little bit. Our culture has to desensitize a little bit. But even if you haven't had physical sexual abuse, you know, you may have been brought up in a culture where sex was heavily repressed. You know, Catholicism is the classic example. Here in Europe, we have, you know, some big Catholic cultures in the south of Europe, and sexual repression is very, very common. It's not okay, particularly for women, to live their sexuality. You know, you try doing that in southern Italy, and you're going to find yourself on the receiving end of a lot of shit. You know? Greece and Spain, Portugal, likewise. In Northern Europe, they've got their own problems in Northern Europe, but it's not quite such a level of sexual control and restraint. And so what can happen is that as a developing, you know, adolescent, the underlying message you're given by your culture is that sex is really not okay unless you're trying to have babies and you got married already, you know. And this also can create a lot of tension around this area. You know, the classic muscles that get tense when there's a lot of repression in sexual repression is the iliopsoas muscle. It's about an inch in from here. And you can even lie down on your back and get your partner to feel that muscle, look for it in an anatomy book maybe, and just feel in there and get them to really push in there and breathe and feel. I'm doing it sitting up, which is not ideal. You want to do it lying down on your back and just get your partner to, you know, massage this muscle. Massaging this area can be a great way to move some of the tension out of the muscles, because finally the problem is existing at a muscular level. It's existing at a muscular level. Likewise in here, in around your groin, in here, getting your partner to massage these muscles is also good. Often there's a lot of fear and tension around this area. So these are some techniques from like myofascial release or deep tissue massage that you can make use of with a partner. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. You know, you don't have to necessarily go to massage therapists to do this. Or you could go once, learn where the muscles are, and then get your partner to do it. You have to be quite careful with it. Other massaging techniques for women, in particular, you can get your partner to put a finger, you make sure it's clean first, inside of you, and massage around the G-spot. Look up sexual de-armoring. On the internet you might find some articles about it. There's not a lot of information around there. But you have to be gentle. But you can basically start to create to release some tension from there. Often for women, there's a lot of tension around the vagina. Likewise, for both men and women, you can massage what's often called a sacred spot, or it's basically your prostate gland. For men, you put your finger up your bum, or you get your partner to, ideally, and just find the prostate and simply gently move your finger around it. With any of these massage techniques, what's important if you're receiving is that you really breathe deep. You keep on breathing, because as you start to hit areas of your anatomy which have got tension, which have got old emotions trapped inside of them, then what will basically happen is your body will clench a bit and your throat will constrict. And that will happen, but you need to just keep breathing and feeling and allowing the feeling. You know, maybe deep pain or anger comes up. Allow the feelings. Doesn't mean you have to go into screaming your head off, but it means just allow a feeling to come out. So you can release a lot from these techniques, and you can really, you know, deepen your intimacy with your partner by doing this stuff. So you've got prostate massage, you've got for women G-spot massage, and generally massaging inside the vagina. A lot of areas you will find there is tension, and over time, you know, stuff will release, and you start to feel better. You start to feel more free and easy. All of this area for many, many Western cultures, and frankly a lot of people out in the world, you know, it's a bit of a myth that Westerners have, that you go out of, you know, Western culture and you find everyone is happy living like the noble savage myth, they used to call it, or the happy savage. It's a bit of a fantasy in the Western mindset. You'll find plenty of sexual repression all over Southeast Asia, Tahiti, wherever you want to go, basically. So it's not just Westerners. Any of these techniques you can use over time to start to really open up these areas, and they can be great things to deepen intimacy in a relationship as well. I think we've covered quite a bit here. Let's also look at some classical bioenergetic exercises that work around the pelvis, just to finish off this presentation. The main thing you can do with the pelvis is to get it, you know, the pelvis has its own intelligence. And in a sense, it knows how to unlock your body. But the real issue it's got is that your mind is exerting all this control over this area. And that's created a lot of tension around here. And the pelvis can't just really let you, you know, can't really just let you get, the pelvis can't really just let you release, basically, is the bottom line. The mind is holding it in. But if you allow the mind to sit back a bit and the pelvis to take control, or you try and work in that direction, you'll find the pelvis can naturally bump out or move naturally and start to release a lot of tension from the lower back and the whole pelvic area. It can do that quite naturally, but the tricky bit is getting yourself relaxed enough and in the right flow for it to just happen. And some exercises we can do, let's make sure you can see me okay. Maybe I just bring the webcam up a little bit more. That is to lie on your back, you know, in a relaxed pose, and start by just with your knees up like this, your feet planted, and for most people palms up is the most relaxed and comfy, but yours might be palm down, it's okay. And to simply do some pelvic rotation for like 5-10 minutes with some gentle music on, following your breath. And by pelvic rotation I mean rotating, breathing in, rotate the pelvis that way, and breathing out, rotate it back. So breathing in, I rotate up, my lower back comes off the floor, my tailbone stays on the floor, on the mat. And breathing out, bring it back so it comes down. But my tailbone stays on the floor the whole way through.
Quite deep, even, slow breathing through the mouth is good. In and out. Have some gentle, relaxing music on and do that for like 10-15 minutes. Remember, your tailbone stays on the floor the whole time. You're just rotating the pelvis. And very important, try to keep your awareness in your pelvis, feeling. This is a real bottom line. You keep the posture going, like in bioenergetics. You keep your breathing going nice and deep, and you really feel what's going on. Feeling the pelvis. As soon as you start coming out into thinking about stuff, that's happening because there's something in your pelvis you don't want to feel. So then get excited to come back in and feel it. After 10-15 minutes of doing this, or a little bit less time, you can start to lift your pelvis off the floor and let it down again, following the breath. Breathing in, pelvis comes up. Breathing out, pelvis goes down. You don't need to do a big yogic kind of power lift. You just come up about 2 inches, 5 centimeters, and let it down. And again, the main element is to really feel into your pelvis while you do it. At some point, it can even feel like it's a kind of wave, you know. And then to step up, to go into a little bit of bumping, what you can do is, with the in-breath, the same, lifting the pelvis up, and then just drop the pelvis. Not so you hurt yourself, but so you get a little bump on the tailbone. And just feeling, and maybe at some point your pelvis naturally wants to go a bit faster and just bump out. And you can make sound and kind of let some sound out. And then kind of, have a bit of downtime, relaxing on the floor afterwards.
This is, these kind of pelvic exercises, like I've just shown you, the emphasis is really on feeling. You've got to stay feeling the pelvis. I often see people, trying to push a bit too much in this exercise, and which you do have to do a little bit more in some other bioenergetic postures. But when you work with the pelvis, you really you're not achieving much unless you're really feeling into the pelvis, feeling into there. Okay, so these are some exercises you can use and some theoretical understanding that can help you, come out of too much negative self-beliefs if you've got some form of sexual dysfunction, and just start to work with it practically. Just start to work with it practically, because, you can get a sex life back. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It may not be, if you've been through a lot of trauma or you've got physical injuries, it may not be the same as other people's, but you can have a good sex life if you want to. There's a lot of studies that have been done even on people like quadriplegics, showing that they can really find a way to really enjoy a certain level of sex life. So don't accept that it's always going to be bad for you. Don't accept that it doesn't work. Just start to work practically on it. Don't go into too much negative self-belief because of any sexual dysfunction you've got. Gentle progress can be made, and like we see with some of these techniques, you can do them with your partner, and they also make you more intimate as well. For men in particular, learning to share our emotions and our feelings and the stuff in our life which doesn't work can also, for women, it helps them feel us. Helps them feel us and know where we're at. You don't need to do it all the time, but it does help for women to be able to feel us. And most women are very happy to have a man who can also share about his feelings. They don't usually want that they only share about the feelings and can't be a man as well, but that you can also share about the feelings as well as being male. It's something that nearly every woman I've ever met thinks is a great thing. Okay guys, so whether you're a man or a woman, remember, you can have a great sex life. You just need to keep working at it practically and intelligently. You can do it. Okay, over and out. Feel free to like or subscribe and all of that stuff, and feel free to check out, I've got a lot of workshops going on, particularly in the UK, and I also travel to other countries sometimes, so feel free to message me and get in touch. Okay, bye for now, and keep doing the bioenergetics. It's good for you.